What's up?
What's up?
Oh my god. I don't know what the hell Talk's doing. It did an update. I can't use my earbud anymore.
What? Welcome in, welcome in.
You were literally in my ear, and the second I start live, it goes out. Like
That's
we were just on the phone. That's so fucking annoying. There has to be like a way to do that.
Welcome in, everybody.
Oh, Max, I'm sorry. Shit. Let me know you're there. Meow or something.
Welcome in, welcome in.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. That's fucking annoying. Welcome in, guys.
Hope everybody's doing good today. 1:41 on the clock.
It's like, why do I even try? Why do I even try? That has to be something about with the new Talk update.
That's so weird.
Because like it like literally like then I can't fucking hear you. That's so stupid. No, I don't feel like wearing corded headphones.
Nobody wants to do
That's
that.
not the assignment. I had to put my hair up because it was way too hot.
Yeah, it's like humid here. The sun was out when we were on the phone earlier, but it's just not anymore. Which is probably good so I don't get sunburned again.
Well, I had to change my shirt. I had like a different shirt on altogether. Jesus. And it like, yeah, shirt change was definitely the way to go.
Welcome in.
Good God, the sun god's mad. I'm just kidding.
What is happening? No.
Like, holy Lord.
Swipe left.
Shoot. Welcome in, guys. We're just getting rolling. I know we're a little bit later than normal, but we're doing dual reads today. We have Cash App, we have Venmo. If you would like to hear from me and Miss Keys of Wisdom 369, everything is 2222, and we can tap into whatever you would like, or we can do a general. Everything is on the table for the most part.
Yes, ma'am.
For the most part, I like.
Except we will not pull on anybody's energy who is not present to consent. As
That's for
always.
that most part.
Welcome in.
Oh Lord. I got a song stuck in my head.
Oh no.
Pull me up a double shot of whiskey. Anyway. Woof. I don't know where I want to put this. I just don't really like the way it is. I didn't have a good answer. Oh my goodness. Seeing your guys' comments is gonna be a little bit hard. I happen to put myself. I just feel like the sun shouldn't be there for the time of day it is. Welcome in, welcome in. I don't know. It just feels like it's right overhead for it being like 3 o'clock.
That's how it was out here yesterday. I'm like, what is going on?
I feel like it should be like. I feel like I have more of a shadow by now. Welcome in, welcome in. Holy Lord. Whew. If you're in here, please tap that screen. Please share the live. Help us get out on FYP so we can see if we can't get a few more people in here before we toss collective. The list is open. We're doing 2222, and we have Cash App and we have Venmo. And you can send it, hey, Kalilia, and you can send it to either me or Miss Keys of Wisdom 369. It does not matter. We split it up and do all the good on the back end, so there are no worries. Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for the share. Thank you.
Nice angry face. Not you.
Angry face?
Somebody dropped some angry face emojis. Oh, the guy didn't even say anything yet.
Must just be the collective energy. It's not going everybody's way, I know that, but
As the devil card comes out.
it's not going everybody's way, but
Welcome in, welcome in.
oh Lord. Big sad over here, like when the muck bubbles up. What? Big sad over here, like when the muck bubbles up. What? What's the muck bubbles up?
I'm saying like mucky, like yucky energy, I'm guessing. Who said
Oh,
that?
Kalilia.
What's wrong?
No, no, no. You just did a road opener.
Girl, it'll be okay, I promise. It's just a part of it. You brought everything up. You made everything open. Now you move through it. All that was buried. All that was the slow burn. The things
All
you
that
didn't
wasn't for
know
you.
is working for you. It just doesn't feel like it sometimes because it's causing you to like the things you didn't even know, right? It's almost causing an imbalance. It's supposed to be a little bit like nobody said the road was a smooth road once you open it. It's actually a little bit of a rocky road because you've busted open these things that like you didn't even know about. The ones that were like really buried. So when they came up, they brought all this rubble with it, right? But it's open now. You're just kind of making your way through the road and you got to climb over some things. You got to push some things out of the way, but they're not obstacles anymore. They're not unforeseen. This is why it feels mucky and yucky a little bit. It's all here at the surface to maneuver through now. You're not playing hide and seek trying to find it anymore.
Well, see, but that's the thing. It doesn't do the work for you. It just brings it right front and center
Up
so you
front.
can make your decision.
Yes.
Because you still have the free will option. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's one of those things. You have therapy in 2 hours. Hey, that's all good. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But you know what I'm saying? Like it brings everything to the surface so
Yes.
that you can decide what you want to do. Are you doubling down or are we doing something different?
Yes.
Are we keeping it in the roadway or are we moving it aside? A lot of things to unpack. I'm not surprised. You used your first road opener as our road opener, so holy hell, because holy hell. But it's okay. It's the momentary like rocky waters. It's the momentary tower, but the backside's gonna be fantastic. But don't be surprised when you get to the backside and you're like, where'd everybody go? Because you'd be surprised when you're on your healing journey how many people aren't necessarily supposed to be there. And it's not anything bad against them or whatever. It's just that you guys are moving in different directions. People, places, energies, situations, constructs, ideas, the past coming back. I can't tell you how many people right now are doubling down on bullshit
Yep.
in like the biggest way possible. And there are people who are standing up and deciding they don't want to double down on bullshit again because that's what they've done and it hasn't gotten them anywhere. So I have you as that part of the collective who's like, yeah, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm ready to let go of this. I'm ready to this because
But like I said, it's almost causing. Hold on, because I'm gonna show it to you. I'll show it to you the way it came out. We got the lovers in reverse, and I'm talking about your energy, nobody else's. The devil card is your bridge into your hermit. And I want to tell you right now that this is the chapter you're gonna walk alone. This is the chapter to walk alone. This is all the things that you've allowed. And when I say allowed, the things you've allowed to stay in your space, even though you've made boundaries, These are the roads that you're opening. These are the things where you're like, I don't want to do what's comfortable yet still a little bit uncomfortable for me. Like I said, I was done with this. I've closed this chapter, and I said it to somebody yesterday, and it just keeps coming up in my space. Everybody, it's like not everybody, but this isn't closing the chapter anymore. This is your new book. We're not doing the never-ending story anymore, where we take a few steps forward and then take a few steps backwards because we're taking the safe option, the well, I can deal with this in the moment, and I'm going to do it this way because it still feels like the safer way, not the full-fledged take a risk way. But the energy that's here to harness right now is it's a complete trust fall or no fall at all. You don't get a safety
Yeah.
net anymore. And that's the
It's
thing.
a leap of faith energy. And
Yes.
that's where we pull back to that you can't control your tower.
But Kalilia, let me tell you this. You took a leap of faith doing a road opener, okay? Even though not everybody understands this, like, I mean this. Like, it's a leap of faith to do a road opener because whatever expectation, and this comes from me, this child of balance will agree with me, it doesn't matter what your expectation going into your road opener was. I said expectation, not your intention, your expectation. It will not deliver whatever you think your expectation is.
Nope.
However, when the dust settles, and I'm calling it the dust because, like I said, it's kicked all of this shit up to the surface. So you're not sitting in a place now where you're like, what do I need to work on? What am I missing? It's not missing anymore. It is all here in its glory, and it ain't glory. It's dusty. It's tornado-like almost for the first stretch of the road. And that's why I said this is the part you walk alone, where you're like, I'm merging into my unapologetic self. I just realized, and I don't want to share too much, but based on what you said to me, okay, you didn't even realize, based on what you witnessed in your own practice of doing that, how much there was to burn away and bring up. You saw it though. You saw it in its physical representation of what you were doing. And now it's here because you're not afraid anymore. You're not afraid. You're facing your fears. You're dealing with your shit. That is why it's so uncomfortable, because it's not hidden from you anymore. You're ready to face it head on. It's just overwhelming when it's all splayed in front of you. And that's why I said it's almost like walking after like an apocalyptic event, right? Where it's the ruins and you're like, let me move this chunk, let me move this, but like you're still here. You survived the blow up, the blowout, the this, and now you're just maneuvering. You're just moving things where they belong and realizing this still has a space here, this doesn't. Just be kind
Right.
to yourself right now. This is just the beginning phases. And
Because
I
you got to
promise.
understand, like, the way we teach road openers is very generic, especially with what you get, because we encourage people to make their practice their own and stuff like that and to do what they're called to do. But you got to understand, people take the road opener so literal. I'm
Yes.
going to move this person out of my life. I'm going to move this job aside. I'm going to move my boss away. I'm going to. Nobody, nobody thinks about the fact that the road openers work on the inside too. You're opening the what blocks your chakras. You're opening, if you're asking for all roads to be open, mind, body, spirit, in your all your chakra centers, all your this, that's a lot of stuff to come up to the surface. I'm gonna be honest, if you can handle what's thrown at you and juggle it pretty well, you're gonna get past a lot very quickly.
Yes.
My aunt who passed away used to say, "Be good to you." Yeah,
But
yeah.
I want to say this because you said something really important right now. People take it literally. And people do things, and I'm going to say this, and it doesn't matter what candle workings, divination, whatever anybody's individual practice is. You don't get to tell, I'm going to say this, and this is going to trigger somebody, and whoever, whatever, take it what it is.
Yep.
You don't always get to decide who you remove from your life. Because the thing is, we're all connected. And sometimes there's a plan and pieces and moving parts that you can't see. And sometimes spirit brings people to you. Sometimes the same person, sometimes the lesson in a different body, in a different vessel, with a different face, sometimes the same. Because that's part of what you're here to overcome. So when people are like, I'm just cutting this out of my life, bye, right? And then spirit's like, but I brought you this for a reason, right? And it comes in all shapes and forms. Sometimes, like, think about it, when you're in relationships, right? And you break up with somebody and then you go back to somebody and you this over and over and over again, right? There's some lesson to be learned there. You haven't quite accepted it, and that person is there to facilitate a lesson for you. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're supposed to work it out. That doesn't mean that you're supposed to stay. It means there's some piece and part of you that is intertwined in this lesson, and you have to accept that lesson in order to move past that. Spirit decides when things are removed from your life, not always you. Because the thing is, when things pop back up, again, I said it the other day, you will learn how healed you truly are. Because when you're truly healed, you don't project on people. You don't get angry at people. My grandma always said that. I shared that the other day during live. But you know when you're truly over something or you have closure with something because you're not angry anymore. And we've talked about it before. Anger is a secondary emotion. It masks something else. Whether it's pain, whether it's self-worth, whether it's abandonment, whether it's whatever, right? It masks something else. So when you're not angry, you've gotten to the root of what caused your anger. So right now when we're talking about this, you can't just be like, I'm cutting this, I'm cutting that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because sometimes there are things that are outside of your control. And if something keeps coming back to you in some kind of way, you have to ask yourself why. Because if you believe in unity and you believe that we are pieces of a whole, and you're judging pieces of a whole and you're giving them negative connotations, you have a whole ass problem. Because you're not understanding unity and oneness, and that we're all a reflection and pieces and parts of each other at different phases and places of our journey. Sometimes somebody's a little more healed than somebody else. Your mere presence is going to trigger somebody else. Our triggers are literally when a light is being shown on something we still need to work on. Your triggers aren't a bad thing. Your triggers are to facilitate your growth. So if you
Yeah, it's
still find,
breadcrumbs.
what'd you say?
It's breadcrumbs.
Yes. So if you still find that you're getting triggered by things, it's just an opportunity to get to the root of something else. It's the opportunity to be like, I still have some more work to do. Healing is not, it never ends. You're always doing it.
It's also not linear.
It's consistent. Like it's not neat. It's not in a package. It's not wrapped up in a bow. No two people heal the same. So when you have, and again, shift your lens, shift your perspective. Triggers are an opportunity for growth. Triggers are an opportunity to do something again, repeat something. You get a do-over. You're getting a, go back to start. Like the universe is giving you another chance to learn something, to change your actions, to see things from a different perspective. I don't believe in coincidences, and that is just my construct. I don't believe that things happen by coincidence. And I've had enough people recently that I would consider more in their beginning journey literally send me a text message and go, "You always say there's no coincidences. What are the odds that this happened today?" And I just smile because it's like, it doesn't matter where you're at. People everywhere are gaining an awareness that things aren't always as they seem, that there's a bigger plan, that there is divine timing. And if you believe in those constructs, you don't get to pick and choose when you believe in them. It's not only when it's working out for you that it's like, this is the best thing ever.
Yep.
The spiritual path is hard. And truthfully, I don't mean the love and light path. I mean the actual spiritual path. It is not for everyone. Not everyone chooses to walk it, and that is their choice. And that is not judgment. That is perfectly fine. There are no mistakes here. It is learning. It is experience. That is it. Everything we're here to do is experience. It doesn't matter how many times you've been here. It doesn't matter how many times, lifetimes you've had. Every single thing is an experience. You learn and you grow from it. So rather than looking at things as a wrong decision or a right decision, or I didn't choose right here, there's no wrong choices. None. Zero. Ever.
I'll tell you what, it takes two to tango, Kalilia. I'm mud wrestling with my shadow. It takes two to tango. And you've been fighting your shadow your whole life. That's why it's called the shadow.
Your
The
shadow.
shadow is you, it is not separate from you.
Oh, I was
So
just
you
gonna say.
gotta, let's change how we look at the shadow, because what the shadow is saying is not necessarily wrong. And it's not necessarily something that needs to be fought against. Sometimes it's sitting where the shadow sits and going, oh, I see what you're saying.
Your shadow has something to say. That's why it's wrestling with you right now. It wants the
Yeah.
microphone. It wants to step forward.
It wants to be heard, it wants to be
And when I say
recognized, it
that,
wants
it's
to be
a
realized, to be
testimony.
readopted.
It's also a testimony to your growth. When your shadow wants to come forward, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's not the part of you that's like, run, go away, we don't want to do this. Like, oh, I recognize this, swerve. Like, I was talking about this morning. When you think about pieces and parts of your shadow and your inner child and your this and that, when your inner child gets triggered and tries to take the wheel, it's in fight or flight. It doesn't want to be in the spotlight. It's like, we've been here before. We're afraid. We're in fight or flight. I want the wheel. Let's go. I'm either fighting or I'm
Right.
running, right? Kids don't need a driver's license and they sure the hell don't need the wheel. When your shadow is like almost arguing with you, like, I want to be the one who handles this today. I want to step forward today. They're not running. That's the part of you that's ready to assert yourself. That's a part of your shadow that you've adopted back in, even if you don't realize you have. When it's ready to speak into the public and come forward, it's for a very pertinent reason.
But it also probably wants to speak on something and hasn't been able to speak on thus far.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, I'm ready, give me the mic, you know what I mean? Because it hasn't gotten the mic, it hasn't been heard, it hasn't, previously. So try not to view it as fighting your shadow, and why don't you sit with it and see what your
You're
shadow has to
balancing.
say.
You're balancing it. You're not fighting it. Like we say, it's not which wolf will you feed, it's how much will you feed each wolf. Both your shadow and your light side are equally as important. Sometimes one needs to be fed a little bit more than the other so you can achieve that balance.
So that's why I've been posting all those videos about my story. Potentially, because you are your story, so it's
Yes.
you coming to terms with who you actually are and giving your shadow a voice. It's entirely possible, but you got to make sure that you're not just telling your story, you're feeling your story. Because you can mentally understand your story and give it no space in your energy for feelings or emotions or things like that. So you got to make sure you're doing the flip side of that, and not just being like, yep, this happened, and moving past it, but giving the shadow a second to be like, oh shit, this happened, and feeling it. I haven't been able to tell the truth for the longest time. You're a truthful person. You deny your own truth. There's a difference. But that's what the part of
Sometimes,
readopting the shadow is, not denying those truths about yourself.
sometimes you're just trying to tell your truth in an inauthentic way. And I don't mean that as it is going to sound. I mean, you tell it with humor sometimes when your shadow might want to tell it with a tear.
Yeah,
Or
coping
you know what I mean?
deflection.
You make a yes, you tell a joke like, "Oh, we ain't doing this anymore." Like, I'm a charge for access to me, and your shadow's really like, "You know what? I didn't deserve to be treated that way, and it's not funny."
But it's like you can change and like we've said this before, you can change the names, you can change the people, but
Yes.
the essence of the energy of your story remains the same. So some people feel like they have to hold parts and details of their story to save others, and that's your prerogative. That's something you want. I stopped telling it for someone else. Yeah, if that's something that you want to do, you are always welcome to do that. It's your story. You choose how to express it. But it just doesn't mean that you don't recognize those parts of your story. It just means maybe not putting them on blast if you're not ready for that, if
Yes.
that's not the way you want to go about it. But it's just not making sure that you're not denying those truths to yourself, because they still happened,
And if you
you
want to
know?
put it on blast, put it on blast. I'm a firm believer. I'm a firm 1000% believer in what I'm about to say. Put it on blast if you want to. One, it's your story. Two, if people didn't like how they treated you, they should have moved differently.
Should treat you better.
Period. End of story. Your story is yours. Truth is truth. Truth will defend itself. Period. And sometimes, and I'm going to say this because I'm going to speak it from experience. So this is zero judgment to anybody. Sometimes your shadow gets tired of being the bigger person. Sometimes your shadow, when you're a loyal person, you hold yourself to your own standards, your own moral compass, and all of those things. You hold secrets for other people. I was literally going to make a video about this today. You are the keeper of secrets. I'm going to say it now, so if it don't come around later. You are literally the keeper of secrets. There is a big part of the collective that is a keeper of secrets. They almost lead, and I'm going to call it blind loyalty, almost to the point of like ignorance sometimes for themselves. They will take the shit to their grave. Not because they give a damn about protecting someone else, but because that is the essence, the ness, that is the very fiber of their being and who they are to their core. They are loyal, they love unconditionally, and they will sit in a space whether you did them dirty as shit, and they still will not utter a word about what you actually did. Period. And sometimes the shadow is like, I don't want to be quiet anymore. I don't want to be I want to say, I want to call it like blind loyalty is ignorance. Like my voice matters too. And that's when you got to feed each side. Sometimes you got to feed this one a little more, which again means you speak of the concept. You speak of what you went through. Change the fucking names, whatever you need to do. But that's the thing. There's a big part of the collective that are the keepers of secrets. And when you realize why you get projected on so hard, it's because people know what they did to you. And they worry that someday the loyal part of you is going to have had enough.
Yep.
And like I said, move differently. We all have choices here. Nobody made people treat people the way they do. You know, once upon a time, I was real unhealed 20 years ago. I did all types of messed up shit in my life, and I have had to own every single bit of it. It was hard. I had consequences that lasted long past the actions that I did. And half of it was I did shit in blind loyalty that I shouldn't have. But you know what? I chose to do that. No one held a gun to my head. Nobody made me say, I'm gonna ride out here. But I chose to. It had a ripple effect. It had repercussions. And that's the thing. I allowed me to disrespect me. People show you who they are. And if you choose to stay, you choose to stay. But eventually you gotta own that you disrespected yourself. Staying longer than you did, ignoring the red flags, rationalizing love, acceptance, tolerance, and toxic constructs and definitions until you realize that those really weren't those things. That was the child part of you that couldn't be alone, that needed somebody to show up for you, all these things. And eventually you heal and you get to a point where you become the version of you that you needed as a child. You're no longer the inner unhealed child throwing a fucking temper tantrum at every adult you meet because that's you're projecting on people. Boundaries are ours, period. Nobody else's. We don't force people to adhere to our boundaries. Our boundaries are ours. You're going to go
You gotta understand. You got to understand that a lot of times people do what they do and you have to separate yourself. And I don't even mean like you have to physically cut yourself or you have to leave a situation. I just mean like sometimes you have to separate the fact that they did what they did because of them and they didn't do what you did, they did because of you. And that doesn't mean you need to change who you are as a person and what moral code you run with to match the energy.
Correct.
So sometimes one of the biggest, and call it a flex, whatever, one of the biggest flexes, sure, is that while they're running their mouth, yours is quiet.
Yep.
Because truth defends itself, and in your mind, in your morality, secrets don't have to be dumped on the public for you to make a point.
Correct.
But it's all about not compromising who you are at your core. So if that's who you are and you're like, nah, I'm good, that's an inner peace with self, that's a whatever, to where you don't need to tell your side of the story to anybody who will listen, that's a different part of healing. That's a different part of growth, you know? So sometimes I feel like people need to be reminded, be careful what bear you poke.
Fact.
You know what I mean? But
Listen,
it's all
you
about
said
not
you
compromising who
just
you
said
are.
you just said something about matching energy that just made me think of something. I was scrolling on oh no, I was shopping on Temu or something. Anyways, and there was a shirt that came up that was like, I match energy or some snarky shit, right? And I'm all for sass, so don't get me wrong. But I want like dissect that for a minute. When you say I'm gonna match energy, right? That means if you've done this work and you're healing and you're not reacting anymore, right? And you go, oh, but I'm a match energy, right? So you're literally saying I'm gonna lower my vibration and be petty and match your energy. Now ask yourself, is that healed behavior? Is that healing? Is matching someone's energy when because it's a snarky phrase, right? It's a snarky phrase. It's meant to be. And like I said, I'm all one for snarky. I like to tell people have the day you deserve. Like facts. That's one of my favorite. I mean, it is because have the day you deserve. What are you mad about? It's a simple phrase, right? You're only mad if you're treating people shitty and somebody says
But
have
that's
the
the
day you
same
deserve.
thing like karma. People are like, you're gonna get karma.
Right.
That only scares you if you know what you put out ain't good.
Correct. It's literally the law of cause and effect. You reap what you sow. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? It's very simple. People just like to give it a different belief system. But I hear people be like, I'm match energy. Okay, but that's unhealed shit. It's
Yep.
unhealed. Like it or not, funny or not. And that's the thing. I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm definitely not saying it's not funny. It can be funny. But if you're healing, you're not trying to match energy. You're trying to maintain your balance. You're trying to protect your peace. You're not here to lower yourself to play petty ass games with petty ass behavior because that's literally going to play unhealed games with unhealed people. You're walking into like, you gonna go get run over by the train? You going into the lion's den? What are we doing? Right? We don't
And
match
that's
energy.
one of the hardest things to realize is that despite what everybody around you is doing, you should remain you. And I know they try to teach it in grade school. They try to teach it when you're little and blah blah blah. If your friends jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? And this independent thinking. But in actuality, it's the fact that regardless of what happens around you, it should not have you change who you are to your core.
Correct.
That's like one of the hardest things. You have to be so secure in yourself, who you are, what you do, what you bring to the table, and what you're doing, that everything outside of you doesn't rock you.
Correct.
And that's the point you got to get to. And that's the hard part per se, because you have to find that stability on the inside and you have to take the time to do it. And finding stability, like we always talk about, finding peace isn't peaceful. It's anything but.
Correct. And that's the thing. Somebody over here just mentioned like going no contact with their moms and their sisters. When people go no contact, right? And I'm gonna say this because, like, again, when you go no contact, it can be very simple things. It doesn't always have to be like an abrupt thing, right? Sometimes you put boundaries in place that it's like, I'm working, I'm doing this, this is my time, right? I don't have to respond to a text message immediately. I don't have to pick up the phone. I don't have to do this. But see, the thing is, you're not in control of, right, what somebody on the receiving end is doing. You're not in control of if you've said, please don't call me at this time, right? I'm busy at this time. I am working at this time, and somebody continues to call you. So when I say it's your boundary to enforce, right? Only you can enforce it in whatever ways you're comfortable with enforcing. And the thing is, you're doing that as a way to protect your peace. Now, some people do that in a manner to run away from things or to not be accountable.
I was gonna
There's a
say,
difference.
like, it depends on how you do no contact for me,
Correct.
because it to me, in my mind, energetically, no contact is a last resort. Like,
Correct.
because it's like you're
Yes.
basically telling the universe that I can't handle you even
Yes.
being next to me.
Yes.
No
And
contact.
we're not
Now
talking
it's
about like
different
abusive
if it's like
situations.
abusive situations, and it's different if it's you're struggling for your life and you have a fear of danger, of hurt or harm, and do whatever you gotta do, right? Safety first. But it's like, I think the modern culture has normalized no contact abruptly and cutting people off and this and that. And it's actually like a result of trauma. It's not, it's not like one of those things
Yes.
that, it's not one of those things that it's like, oh, I tried everything. I tried to have a communication. I tried to have a conversation.
Yes.
It's almost like now this is the accepted step to do before communication. You know what I
Correct.
mean? And it's like, to me, that's just not it. You know what I mean? But that's my
But
journey.
that's
So
for
I always tell people, make your journey you, you know? What did you say?
but yes,
Oh man,
I
my
would say
dad
there
used to call all the time, knowing I was working and would yell at my voicemail like I was the answering machine and I could hear him yell. Yeah. And it's just it's up to everyone individually what they're willing to accept and put up with. You don't have to put up with other people's behavior. But I do think for your healing sake, that should be voiced. And then
correct.
if what happens as a consequence of somebody not, like he said, not holding to your boundaries and disrespecting them repeatedly, then you have to make hard decisions about what you're going to do as a consequence for your boundary not being respected. You know what I mean? But like,
Correct.
I just don't like the gung ho
Well,
before
no,
any
because the thing
conversation.
healed people, and there's okay, let's talk about communication first. Communication is a two-way street. It's about verbally communicating as well as listening. Communication is not one-sided. You're not communicating with anybody if you one have an issue that you literally haven't addressed with them, right? If you say I have an issue with you and I'm just going to not fucking talk to you about it and I'm not going to do this, that is literally avoidance. And then if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, something feels off here, can we talk? Like, can we clear the air?" And you don't acknowledge that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So you mean there's an issue, someone has an awareness of it, they bring it to you and attempts to be healed, have a conversation, even if it results in agree to disagree, even if it results in going your separate ways. But if you don't even give that communication a chance, are you operating in a healed capacity? If you're like, oh shit, somebody picked up on some energy here, right? Somebody discerned the energy that something is off. Now they're bringing it into awareness. They're bringing it into the light, right? And they're saying, "Hey, something feels weird here. There's been a shift and change in energy. You good?" And then you don't respond. Okay, so you're like, "I'm now not responding." That's not going no contact. That's avoiding and fucking juvenile ass immature behavior. The facts. I mean, it's like what little kids do. La 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 la. I'm not listening to you, right? That's not communication. That's not how healed people operate. That's reactive behavior. That's escapism type of behavior. And that's literally not taking responsibility or coming to a table to have an adult conversation. Period. Child of balance it. It's so normalized now that it's like, I don't like what you had to say because the truth hurts. Sorry, I'll say it because truth hurts sometimes. So block you, call the phone company, like all these things, right? But that's also a reactive behavior because 9 times out of 10, and I've watched this in my own personal space in previous, like with my kids, because like petty kid games, right? Like that's why I said it's a childish behavior. I have a child who's a grown up, but not really, right? And it's, well, I'm gonna block grandma today because I don't like what grandma said to me. 2 days later, I'm unblocking grandma now. That's
This
grown as
child is
fuck.
grown up, but
And
not
I look at
really.
my son and I'm like, that's not communication. That's you not liking what someone said and retaliating against someone else in petty childish behavior. It's simple. If you don't want to have a conversation, then say, "I'm not in a place to have a conversation right now. I need some space." That's a grown up thing to do. But that's what I'm saying. This is such a normalized behavior now, but it's really an immature, unhealed behavior. No contact is a last resort. It's for people who have tried and tried and tried, and their boundaries aren't being respected. Their words are falling on deaf ears. It's things like that. Just like people say, you say I'm working, I'm this, I'm that, or I'm not your emotional punching bag. Don't I need to call my energy back. I'm giving too much of myself. I'm not pouring enough into me. And then reaffirming those things. But like I said, people are shifting now, and they're really seeing some of these toxic behavior patterns and how they don't self-serve because they come all the way back around. Hey, Colin, how are you today, buddy? I'm so sorry I call you buddy. I do this every time you come on here. I call him buddy because I call my Colin buddy.
I was gonna say, I was like, it's because you got a son. Hey, buddy. No, but it's the truth. So right now, people are finding out. You know, they're kind of finding out a little bit of clarity, a little bit of truth, and they're being put into new perspectives on old situations. And a lot of people are growing out of current spaces and places, even just energetically, and they're having to come to terms with, well, if this ain't it, then what? And it's that fear of that trust fall that keeps people hesitant, but they wouldn't call it a trust fall if you didn't have to have some trust involved.
Correct.
Like,
Like I said, it's trust fall without the safety net. People wanted to do the safe fall with the safety net.
well, and it's like, let's be honest. We have all 3, 2, 1 on the clock. We have all yeeted ourselves off of our man-made towers in our lifetime, like by our damn self, and we're right here, and we all survived. So it's like, it's funny when we go to put trust in something quote unquote outside of us, but it's really not. It's on the inside, but in our minds outside of us, it's like, well, we're like, I don't know. What if they don't catch me? What if this is a trick? And it's like, no. Just because you messed with yourself your whole lifetime doesn't mean like.
Correct.
But no. So it's one of those eye-opening kind of weeks,
What you need help
where
with?
people are kind of getting to see, the truth and what's being brought to them, and that, what they want to do with it. Appreciate the wisdom. No worries. No worries, Miss Kalili. We always talk our stuff on here before anything, I know we're a little bit late, but the list is open, guys. We are doing reads for 2222. So if you guys would like to get on the list for a read, we have Cash App and we have Venmo, and you can send in to either my page and my link tree or Miss Keys of Wisdom's page. Either is fine, and we do all the splitting up of stuff on the back end. So the only thing we ask is that when you come back in, you just let us know that you donated so we don't miss you. Now, you can always ask collective questions. Collective questions do not require us to feel into you directly, but they're more a general statement that we try to answer in between reads as much as possible.
Yes.
So just know that's all fair game. I'm like melting out here. Is anybody else's sun like
It's humid
far
out
too
here,
hot?
but it's good. At least I'm not like frying like I was yesterday.
Oh, I'm gonna be red. I'm gonna be burnt. They wouldn't call it a trust fall if you could stay on your feet either. Yeah, but that's the thing, and like anybody will tell you, no matter what you're up against physically, mentally, emotionally, it's only as bad as we make it. Like, I swear to God, sometimes we make it worse with our anticipation of how awful it's gonna be than if we actually just did it. And like, I'm
Are you
speaking from
still standing?
complete.
Are you
That's what I'm
still
saying.
standing?
Like, I'm like talking about like complete like honesty and like from self experience. Like, the things that you just did and you didn't think about. You know what I mean? You didn't overthink. You didn't beat to death 77% of my phone battery. Like, usually ends up working out just fine. And you're usually fine. But if you spent 2 days leading up to it, just lost in anxiety, anticipation, worry, fear, and everything else, whatever you decided, if you chose to go do that thing regardless, oh my God, it was awful the whole way up there. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. We make it worse. You know what I mean? Because we wind it up. We wind it up.
Correct.
Oh my god. So if you guys have collective questions, go ahead and drop them down and we'll answer them. We'll talk about them. We'll get a little chit chat going. The list is open. Oh my. Pull me up a double shot of whiskey. I got that song stuck in my head again. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna have red arms. Seeing any cool birds? No, I'm being inundated with spiders right now. I went to go into the bathroom last night and look at my eye in the mirror, and I leaned over the sink, giant ass wolf spider in my sink, and I was like, what in the world? I came out here to go on live, 2 jumping spiders right where I was gonna sit, and I'm like, oh great. So I'm not getting too many crazy birds at the moment. I'm getting spiders up the wazoo. I know Keys had a really big, really fat raven this morning. Or crow, sorry, crow this morning.
Oh, and I had a crazy crow in my tree yesterday during live. Peace to the planet. What do you want to talk about meditation? What specifically? What's your question?
Are we talking traditional meditation
You just
or
all it says
meditative
is talk.
state?
All it said was talk about meditation. So that's why I was gonna say what about meditation? That's broad. That's broad.
Welcome in, JCC3. What's up? I've been dive bombed by bumblebees. Oh yeah,
Our
I had a bee by
experience
my
with
face.
meditation.
What'd you
It
say?
says your experiences with meditation.
What?
It said when I said what about meditation, and it says your experiences with meditation. Um. Well, I mean, I don't like sit on the ground and kumbaya or anything. If that's what we're talking about.
Well, it depends on what meditative state you're asking
Yeah.
for. Like I am very
I should.
cosmic.
Yeah.
I like energy. If I meditate for too long, I'm out of body. Um
Yes. Yep.
so so
Yes.
um
Well, I can't go sit
I can
outside
do
for
a
too
bunch
long.
of crazy things when I choose to meditate in a traditional sense of meditation. However, I don't do it very often only because I get so vibey and so lit up and so whatever, that I kind of get lost in it sometimes. And sometimes it's just not feasible for my busy life to sit down for a half hour, an hour. But I do try to fall into meditative brain states throughout the day. Um,
Yes.
and that's doing more patternistic behavior or repetitive behavior to where I can tell my body and my brain that it can turn its thinking brain off and turn my allowing brain on. Things would be like washing the dishes, doing laundry, vacuuming, cleaning, shuffling cards. You'll see me sit
Yes.
here and just shuffle cards over and over again without actually tossing anything. Driving in the car, coloring, drawing. A
Yes.
lot of those things that people don't really think about. Listening to music, like that's kind of the
Music
same
is
song.
like
Like I can play the same song for like 7 hours. Like so it's one of those things. Hey, rooted. It's one of those things that I think it just depends on how you talk about meditation. If you mean physically sitting down, um, my meditation when I do that is very personal to me. Just the way as my guides are, they're very personal, and I typically don't share a lot um, because I find those very intimate topics. So you probably won't get a whole bunch of information on my personal experience with meditation because I find it very sacred. Um, but in general, if you were to sit down in meditation, it's one of the best things that you can do, especially when you're just beginning, because a lot of people call it sitting in the power or whatever. Like you're just sitting with you, your energy, and you can do a lot with it. And sometimes that's the best place to realize just how powerful and how connected you really are is when you take time to sit with yourself.
correct. Because most people struggle to sit with themselves. It's sitting in the quiet, sitting in the stillness. And I don't mean quiet like it needs to be quiet. Quieting the mind, quieting the body.
Well, and it's not even like the easiest thing with meditation is people go, I can't quiet my mind. That's because you're trying to control your mind. With meditation, you do the opposite. It's release of control. It's not grabbing onto any one thought or anything, the energy that flows through the brain. It's just allowing it in one ear and out the other, as I say. Like, so sometimes we have a different construct of meditation, and um, some people like to do like the chants or the mantras or the whatever while they meditate. I find that kind of distracting sometimes, unless it's like short, two syllable, like more of a breathy tone where you're like almost throat singing or something like that, like to where it's just like a breath, then that's fine. But sometimes when it's elongated things, it kicks my thinking brain on too much. If I have to remember too many lines or phrases or stanzas, then I'm not really releasing my thought, and I'm not, letting that just turn off. So it really does depend on what works best for you. Like, I have done guided meditations in the past when I was much younger. Um, Ever since I hit like my 20s, like, you know what I mean? I don't really do guided meditations um, anymore. I just find them to be a little bit restricting sometimes, because either they go too slow or they're like, envision this, and then I'll start envisioning and something else will pop in, and then they're like, but like this, and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like editing my vision. So it's personal preference, I guess. I needed to hear that again. Yeah, no worries. No worries. But do you have like a specific question surrounding
Most
meditation? I know you said for us, but do you have like, are you alluding to something about the way we meditate, or like, because if you do, I'd love to answer it if I can, like if I'm allowed to. I feel like the sun is personally attacking me with its rays today.
how I felt
You ever just feel that way?
yesterday.
What?
Yes. That's how I felt yesterday. Like personally
Yeah.
attacked by.
I don't remember angering
I
the
have
sun god, but I might have.
a wound on my knee.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I don't remember angering the sun god, but I guess it's possible. I've always been very, very happy
I'm
with the
sitting
sun,
at
I
the
feel like.
same place I always sit, and I immediately sat down yesterday, and I'm like, why is the sun searing through the top of my kneecap? And then we go inside after live, and I'm like, you know what? Absolutely burnt through my kneecap, and I had pants on.
Thank you for the roses. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Heart hands. But yeah. So like, I don't know, but if you do have something specific about meditation that you would like us to expand on, like, I don't mind doing it. Um I think for people who have like stoicism and
Oh
stillness and
yes. She says somebody else asked, do either of y'all have a lot of energy flowing through you with meditation? Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
all
Yes.
the time. And if I make the mistake,
Like
thank you for the Diney. And if I make the
like
mistake to call
we can
keys,
go out of body
it
real quick.
accidentally flows into her camp.
Yeah. Oh yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah, this
I have
person
to.
must have. Hey, this person must have come in after we started, and it says I have to limit my meditation because it causes physical effects. Yeah, we absolutely relatable. Yes,
Yep,
yes,
yep,
yes.
yep. Your eyes get weird. You feel body buzzes. You can get a little
It came
vertigo
out
going.
that one time last week, and I'm like, oh my god, I just hurt my head.
Well, that's what, like, it's just like, I can't tell you how many times like I've been like, I sat down for meditation and Keys will call me and I'll start talking and she'll be like, my God, my head this, my this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm buzzing. My bad. We should hang up.
And that one time, I'm like, what's
Like,
wrong with your eyes, dude? And you're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, I can see it all the way over here, like states away.
yeah. So energy is cool, especially with the fact that it can be picked up on from such a long distance and such a far stretch. That's what I think is always so interesting about energy, and just further proves the interconnectedness of a lot of things, of all things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's the little things too, like when you call somebody and the energy just feels off when they're on the phone or this and that. Like some people make it bigger than it has to be. Like you're getting energy pings or information or breadcrumbs or whatever every step of every day. Your
It's
body
crazy
is
how some
picking
people
up
answer
on
the
something.
phone, like their whole voice be different, and you're like, "Why are you talking like that?"
Okay, call
It's
me
the
out.
subtlety. It's the subtlety.
All right, roast me. That's fine.
I'll be like, "I just talked to you. I just talked to you 20 minutes ago. Why your voice sound like that?"
Yeah, but no, it's the truth. But I usually tell people like meditation is great, especially when you're first starting. But you got to be careful because anything in excess can be used to cope or escape. So I
Yes.
feel like sometimes people don't realize that they're like, well, I meditate like twice, 2 or 3 times a day for like an hour or more. And when things just get tough, I go inside and I go into myself. And but you're also making a home. You're making a home in your head. You're making a home in meditation. You're making a, and it's just like sometimes there's a happy balance that needs to be held there because it's like, what are we running from in the physical that's having us escape into meditation? So it's like
Correct.
we want to make sure that we're using meditation as a good balancing point, as a coming back to center, as a getting connected, but not an escape. So sometimes limiting your meditation to a couple minutes is better than sitting there for 4 hours on blast. And like we've all been there where we've been like, I just want to, and then all of a sudden, like you wake up and it's like 3 hours later, you're like, where are we? Like, and your weird frequency music is still playing, and you're like, what? Like it happens, but it's just making sure that we don't become addicted to that escaping state. You know what I mean? Oh my, hold me up a double shot of whiskey. I'm gonna have to look up that song. I'm gonna have to as soon as we get off here. I'm gonna have to look up that song.
What song?
I'm gonna do last call, guys. So if you guys have anything that you want felt into or pulled on, or if you have questions that are collective that you would like to ask, go ahead and ask them now. We have Cash App, we have Venmo. All reads are 2222. So if you would like something pulled on or felt into, we can definitely do it. And you'd hear from both of us. And you can send it in to either my Cash App or Venmo or Miss Keys of Wisdom's Cash App or Venmo. And they're all found in the link tree in the bio. So I'm getting a little too roasty in the sun. A little too roasted till I'm gonna be a raisin.
Would it be a
But
raise? What made you start doing readings? Oh, we got all the personal questions today.
good. I'll remember to write them down for podcasts.
Um, that's a good question. What made you guys start doing readings?
Spirit.
No,
I'm gonna be real honest.
actually, go ahead.
Spirit was yelling at me because my read started with mediumship. They didn't start with cards.
Yep.
Cards was part of my self introspection journey. It was part of the getting closer with my team, my guides. It was the part of patience and listening that I had to learn. It was the trusting what I get is what brought me to cards as
Yes.
far as trusting intuition. But I just wasn't given any other option. I'm going to be real honest. I ended up getting squeezed, and I call it squeezed is when you try to make peace in a place that you're not supposed to settle in. So um then they make it extremely, extremely uncomfortable for you to stay where you're at, and then you're forced to move. So is that another spider? Oh my goodness. And then so sometimes you have to take the fall, take the leap of faith, take the trust fall. Did you go back and forth at all? With what, JC3? Thank you for the follow, Kim. Did I go back and forth with what?
Oh, I want to answer too.
Go ahead. You
Oh,
can answer for her. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I think part of it, and I'm gonna speak for both of us for a second, but maybe not. Oh, hold on, I gotta do my puzzle thing. I think a lot of it, like actually starting it, was more. We don't we don't read cards like Rider Waite, like the Rider Waite tarot way or this or that. It's literally just a tool, and it's more our intuitive abilities paired with cards sometimes, but sometimes it's just shuffling and it's looking at things differently. And yeah, we're doing last call right now. You can still send for a read and we'll put you on the list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I think a lot of it was more the trusting piece. It was like, and it wasn't from the standpoint of like, being scared to read, because we're not scared to do cards. It's stepping into your authenticity and realizing that it's okay to launch a space that might not be what people think it is. Because if you come and say, I want you to tell me this. Well, first of all, we don't play in people's energy, which is not something all readers do, right? Off the bat, our teams will not pull on anyone's energy that isn't present to consent. So we're not going to do is so-and-so coming back? Is so-and-so cheating on me? That, because honestly, our philosophy is you don't need to know what anybody else is doing. What anybody else is doing is not your business. The only thing that's your business is what you're doing. And, in situations like that, if you're questioning somebody else or your intuition is telling you something isn't right and your team, even if you don't know your team is your team, they're throwing you red flags. They're hitting your energetic field with some kind of ping, right? An awareness. You don't need me or anybody else to tell you what somebody else is doing. You need to ask yourself, why are you not trusting what you're being given? Why are you not listening to your intuition? Energy introduces itself before a word is ever spoken. So like part of our trust fall was like, we don't do things the textbook cookie cutter way. So for us to start doing this in a public space was we know we do things differently. We're cool with doing things the way we do. We might not be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But we're
Well,
always
and
we'll give you
yeah,
what
and specifically for me, especially on that line that Keys is talking about, like because I started with mediumship, and that's I hold that place of ability, of conversation, of whatever, in some very high ranking in the fact of being like, you're dealing with people and you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with family, you're dealing with energetic cords, you're dealing with the way that they viewed them, you're dealing with the respect on their life, their soul, their presence here. So it's like, I have I have a very large humbleness, but a very large moral compass in that I did never wanted to come in incorrect in that space ever. So because I never wanted to come incorrect in that space, sometimes I would choose not to come at all, because it was one of those things where I was like, not like I was afraid of being wrong, but I was afraid of dishonoring somebody or giving them the wrong impression or something like that. So a lot of times I would edit myself and I would only tell you half of what I would get. And sometimes I still do it. I'll only tell you half of what I get sometimes. And so a lot of that was a fear-based thing where I had to kind of branch out and be like, but everything I tell you, you guys most of the time confirm, and if we don't, I redirect, and then we get the actual answer that's needed. So a lot of times it's like I had to get past that internal fear to do it unapologetically, and to not like question myself and this and that. You know what I mean? And you got to
and
remember, like,
trust the unknown.
I didn't grow up in spirituality. I grew up in religion. So to announce to my family unit that, oh, by the way, I can see and talk to dead people, and by the way, I might not be attending church every Sunday. You know what I mean? And not even doing it in an official way, but just steering life a different way. That, coming from a huge family background like am and still have, was an internal fear for me, because I was like, what if I upset people? I don't like to hurt people and I don't like to upset people. So it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll fight any day of the week, but it's like, that's not who I try to be, and that's not who I am to my core. So the idea of disappointing the people that I love or hurting them, or, something like that, was a big fear that I had to push past in order to do what I'm supposed to do. And spirit did not make it easy at all. I feel like I get close to ascending and then I revert. It's the same thing though. You revert because you're stepping out of your comfortability zone. It's being uncomfortable, it's having a fear, it's having an anxiety, but it's also having a feeling that you think you're doing it wrong.
Jesse, do you
Because
have a specific question or topic that you want us to feel into?
who we reading for?
Jesse?
Jesse.
And I feel like you have something you want to say because as soon as I saw your Cash App come through, my energy in my throat is like almost closing in. Like, are you having a hard time speaking your truth, standing in your truth? Um, like I want to say I know you're in the process of trying to balance in that way, but all up here is like I just like immediately got dry. It got dry, like I'm almost like choking on my words.
And it's like weird. It's not even like what to say. It's like
Nope.
that feeling of like editing yourself so that what you say is accepted, not not even just the like fear of saying something.
No, it's the fear of not saying. I want to say it's almost the fear of not saying something. It's like when I say this, you're in this energy shift, and you're like, when I say like the taking the power back, it's realizing that your silence is also part of your power, but you're somebody who's kind of trying to ebb and flow in between that space and find that balance. So when I say it's not necessarily what you're trying to say, it's fighting not saying anything at all. But I almost still want to say, even when you choose to sit in silence, or when you choose not to, I actually want to say, when you choose not to react, is what I want to say. You still need to be allowed to give yourself an outlet, because if we don't let the energy out, the energy gets stuck. Because you're shifting into something new where you're like, I don't, how do I say this? When you realize that your words fall on deaf ears at times, it's like we clam up. So when I say it's like there's that balance, it's it's realizing that your words fall on deaf ears. You don't need to give your energy to something, but then still finding a way to like release that, right? To push it away from you, but to give it a space. And the thing is, sometimes giving something a space is just saying it out loud to yourself. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It's just verbalizing it to you. I'm proud of myself for not doing that today. You only have to acknowledge it with you. And sometimes people struggle with this balance, and sometimes I feel like you're struggling in a space of balance where you almost think it has to be more complicated than it is. In Child of Balance, and I always say that it's one of those things, like the biggest lie we've ever been told is that it has to be hard. Sometimes it is just that easy. It's speaking it in your own space. It's writing it down. It's ripping it up. It's throwing it away. It's removing it, giving yourself a physical thing to do in physical to release it energetically. Because although we can do everything energetically, a lot of people, a lot of us need something physical here to make it work in all places.
Oh yeah, no worries, JC, dude. No worries. Much love, bro. Um, is Jess a masculine?
What?
Is Jess a masculine?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I know I don't normally ask that ever. Did she have a question then? Or did she just want a
No,
general?
just a general. Oh God, I hope not. No, when we say masculine energy, we have feminine and masculine energy in both of us, like in all of us. So when I say this, like sometimes, like I know you weren't here. So I've given the example of sometimes moms as single moms, when we're the provider, the protector, the doer of all of the things, we step and shift into our masculine energy. So sometimes when we're just discerning the energy in someone, it's like that masculine energy in a person steps forward. It's not. She says she's a single mom of 3 kids. So energetically discerning, you discern correctly.
Well, that's why I asked, because they were talking about her need to heal her masculine, but her emotional masculine, which would be her King of Cups, and they kept throwing it out with this Six of Swords energy and this physical moving through the attempt to heal that part of herself. And that's why I was like, is she a physical masculine? Because I shuffled the deck like 2 or 3 times and those were the only 2 cards they threw out. But then I was like, well, maybe it's because we're still waiting on a question that they're not expanding upon it. You know what I mean? And I was just like, okay, like, but then that makes sense. So
what I want to say is, are you struggling with finding that balance of taking care of yourself? Because I just keep having all these cards come out, the sanctuary card, the self-care card, the growth card, where it's like you're almost fighting, like, and that's what I said when we're talking about these energies, you're fighting your feminine and your masculine energy within, because it's like you're standing in a space where I have to do all the things, I wear all the hats, and if I stop, then I'm being lazy. I'm not doing enough. I have to be on the go, and doing all the things and marking all the boxes on my to-do list, or I failed today. Like, that's the mentality. Like, I'm getting that it's like you're trying to let go of talking to yourself this way, but this is where there's this internal struggle in your head, where it's like, I have to be this. I have to do this for my kids. So if I have to sacrifice myself in this way, then that's what I'm going to do. And then I want to tell you that your team is like, no, you don't. This isn't sacrificing one side of you for the other. And in turn, where you need to come into balance is realizing that if you don't take care of you and you don't pour into your cup and you're constantly pouring into everyone else's cup but your own, under the guise of, I'm doing the best I can, I'm spread too thin. One of the biggest lies is that self-care has to be an hour or 2 or 5 or 10 or a whole day. Self-care can be 5 minutes. Self-care can be setting, and I know nobody likes to hear this as a parent, even myself, it can be setting your alarm 5 minutes earlier so that you can lay in bed and not have to hit the ground running with your feet on the floor while wiping the sleep from your eyes. It can be the cup of coffee that you drink in peace before your house wakes up. It can literally be adding an essential oil to your shower. It doesn't have to be I'm going to get my nails done. I'm going to get my hair cut. Oh God, I can't do that because it costs money and I can't do this. Self-care is what feels right for you, and it can take you 5 minutes. And it's like my team is just saying you need a foundation of self-care to build on, because you're trying to achieve balance while running yourself into the ground, which is part of rebalancing out this masculine energy that ChildOfBalance is talking about.
So there's a part to you and your energy that is riddled in self-judgment. Like, riddled in it. Am I doing enough? Am I doing this right? How does somebody else do it? If I had this, if I had that. And it's just always kind of nitpicking yourself just a little bit, and in the weirdest of ways. I'm going to be honest. It's like, I want to say the most non-traditional ways is the way that I want to say it. Like, you could walk up the steps and judge yourself for breathing too hard. Like, it's like literally like in just the most random ways and in the little things. And they're talking about how, specifically for you, one of the easiest forms of self-love is to stop judging yourself. 3:53 on the clock. To stop judging yourself so harshly with every step you take, every breath you take, everything you do. And I don't know why, but they're not, like, my team is not even talking about a ton of self-love. I want to know, what is it that you can see coming but don't believe? Because I'm not sure what it is, but my team keeps pulling me back to this foresight and this knowing that comes with having this balanced feminine energy, especially when we start talking about your emotions and your intuition. And it just is, they keep pulling me back to that. You see something coming, and it's like you just don't trust yourself that you could be right, and that this could be exactly what it's been foreseen, is the way that I want to say it, is that you can kind of clock it as. And they just keep bringing me back to the fact that, like, you're not wrong when it comes to you seeing this go down, seeing this play out. You're not wrong. So I don't know if you needed to hear that. I don't know if that's going to make any sense to you. But that is all my team is talking about, is you working on that inner feminine balance with that inner masculine balance, and they're both the cups. It was the Queen of Cups and the King of Cups out here. Like it's that delicate balance between the two energies. And then they just kept talking about this foresight, like you see this shit coming again and again and again. And I don't know if it's like you see your breaking point emotionally, you see your this, but it's just like the need for you to let go of something in order to pick something else up. And it's inevitable. Whatever it is inevitable. That's the only thing I want to say. Whatever it is, and it's inevitable. So you can continue to hold on to it for as long as you want. Honestly, because that's what free will, free choice is. But you're just doing yourself a disservice by holding on to it. There's a part of this mental fixation, this emotional push pull that they really want you to let go of and kind of settle in, is the way they're saying it, kind of settle in to your present state, to the present. Um, and just know that what you see coming is coming. And I know this is so random, but they're really like hyper fixating on your foresight, on your ability to see shit before it happens. And I don't even just mean like a sixth sense sort of way. I also mean like in a mom way, in a this way, in a normal human way of being like, you can read the room and you read it well. Like you can do this and you do it well. You know people's behavior, their patterns, their this. So stop pretending to be surprised when they follow through and you prove yourself right. But then they're also being like, you've proved yourself right so many times. When are you going to trust yourself? When you get it and you don't have to see it. I don't know why they're harping so hard over here on my team about it. I don't understand, but I hope that makes somewhat sense to you.
Hold on, let me see what she said. Yes, I know self-care, saw self-care, so showing myself love is uncharted waters. I'm learning, but it's hard, and being consistent with it. And then she says union. Whatever the foresight was union with the
Yeah,
man.
I have my emperor. I have my emperor out on my table.
I see it and thought it wasn't going to happen by now, and it hasn't. And she goes, and I do, and it's gotten stronger recently.
Of course, my team with
I
a
know,
with
I'm
a
just
love
laughing
message.
because the whole time you were talking, the connection card came out in one of my decks. The lovers card came out in my other deck, and I'm just giggling. I'm just giggling.
You know me, I'm not big for the lovey-dovey messages. So, but
What did
that's
I
why
just say? That's what I
that's
said.
why I
This is not when we
neglected.
were talking.
That's why I neglected to bring up the emperor on my table. I was just like, you know what you see. They know. They say you know what you see. Like,
But you know what? I'm gonna say this because it's actually important now. There, it's important in your reading. Don't, because it hasn't happened quite yet. There's a reason why. And sometimes when we see from our feminine lens, we see a potential and we see a version of somebody that they may not have stepped into yet. So while we are seeing a version that we know is coming, it's almost like it's not happening fast enough because we see the potential, we see what the foresight you are being given. While in this 3D reality where things are slower to materialize, it's not happening fast enough, right? The timetable we thought, because time is a construct here, it's not materializing fast enough. But I want to say there's a big shift going on in the masculine collective right now. The masculine collective that is choosing to heal, that is embarking on their awakenings, their level ups, their, like I said, their healing journeys. But it is coming in hard, fast and strong for these people. And I've had multiple confirmations from multiple random people for quite a while now. But it's like they're all being hit with this abandonment that they've been avoiding for most of their lives. And as the feminine that is triggering some of this healing, you kind of get stuck in this ebb and flow of the tap dance they're doing of a few steps forward with a few steps back because it gets scary. And they're breaking out of that inner child fight or flight that makes them want to run. But they're moving out of that runner mode. So when I say that, you're getting a foresight that a lot of other people are getting. A lot of other people are getting.
but I'll tell you what, your team is really harping on surrender.
Yep.
And I have a giant male red cardinal on my tree staring right at me. Like I looked up, it's staring right at me. So confirmations all around. There, Miss Calilia, your bird signs. Like there's one of those things that's like they're asking you to put it aside. They're asking you to surrender it, and that's part of that Four of Swords. That's part of that rest on it. That's part of that calming of the mind. That's part of that releasing expectations, and like he said, especially a timetable. So if you have to tell yourself that I'm not going to worry about it, I'm not going to entertain it, then don't, because it's not going to stop it from coming in. You can't miss what's for you. You can't miss what's for you. So there's a part of surrender and the need to not obsess over when is it coming, what is he going to look like, oh my god, was he here, was he in my dreams, was he this, like, no, just allow it. And that's why they're telling you to turn your outward focus on the masculine energy to an inward focus on your masculine energy, because that's how you bring the healed masculine to your door. And if he shows up in a less than healed state, because we're never truly healed, like, let's just cut the bullshit. We're always healing. But it's like, if he shows up in a lesser healed state than you, the more healing that you do for yourself, the less his state will have an effect on you. And the more you are able to maintain balance in helping him while he continues his healing. And that doesn't have to look so traditional. That can just be living life together, right? Like, I feel like people think that's so like, I'm going to sit down and we're going to talk about your inner child. No, sometimes it's just living life together, and giant bee by my head, living life together and going through the ebbs and flows of that type of a relationship together, but not being so triggered that you guys blow up the relationship. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like that's why they're turning you towards your foresight, and then they're being like, this is what you want. You want your grounded, you're stable, because it came out as an emperor. You don't want no fuck shit. You're not looking for just anybody. Like, and they're very, what's the word? Specific. They're very specific about it, that you're not just looking for anybody. So you need to not just be anybody. So you need to also work on you and make yourself who you want to be, your authenticity, your stability, so that the stable guy is going to want to be with you because you're stable.
And I don't know why I want to say, like, I've got the present moment in the abundance card here. You're not lacking anything in your life. You're not waiting for anything to come in. And my team over here is very adamant for you that right now it's present moment only, as the present moment is all that matters. You're not waiting on something to come in. Your union will find you in exactly the time it's supposed to find you in. And the reason I say that is because when we tell the universe, spirit, God, creator, whatever your understanding is, that we're waiting on something, that's an energy that we're saying we lack something in this present moment. So we're actually, when we're trying to be in a state of manifestation, creation energy, abundance, gratitude, we never want to sit in a space where we're leaving it open-ended, that we don't have something. We're waiting it to be bestowed on us. Like, we have to earn our abundance. That is not true. You create your abundance. Your abundance is not money. It is not material things. Your abundance is you. It is your energy. It's how you speak to yourself, where you invest your time, how you show up every day, how, literally the energy you embody. Your energy is your currency. So when you realize that you are your abundance and it is nothing outside of you, you're not waiting for your happiness to come in. You are your happiness. And when your union or your partner or whatever comes in, you are only now multiplying what you already have. So while the rest of the world is promising your abundance is coming, you are your abundance. And quite frankly, we are in abundance energy right now, like planetary alignments and conjunctions. And I love me some astrology, but we do. We are literally in an energy of abundance. So by flipping your mindset of, I'm already here, what I have is already mine, I am just waiting for it to materialize in my physical world. It belongs to me. My happiness is in my hand. I am the driver of my chariot.
Yep.
I am the star. That is the energy in which I sit. Don't let yourself kind of slide backwards into like, this is why I said I hear the like almost battle in your head. Well, why hasn't it happened yet? I'm doing everything I can. It's that I want what I want when I want it, and I want it right now. But it goes back to like, when man plans, God laughs. It's like sometimes part of the abundance is the surprise. It's when something comes in when you least expect it, and then it makes it even sweeter. And sometimes I tell people it's like that wanting to know what comes next is the human part of us, where the energetic part of us knows it's coming. It's just not happening fast enough. Your
Well,
soul knows what
it's
it
one of those
is.
things that's like we also don't question what we know is ours. We also don't question what we know is for us. So get yourself into a state of knowing that you have everything that is meant for you. You cannot miss anything that is meant for you. You cannot mess anything up that is tied with your destiny. And if you're not looking for just anybody and you're looking for the buddy, like the person, that body, that physical person with the energy that matches, that would be your connection, then you can't miss that either. So they want you to really like get in concrete on the inner energy so that you can
Yes.
match what you desire in the outer energy.
Yes.
Are you sure you don't have no questions? Because
I feel like she has a question. I keep saying that. Like, I can feel it right here. I can feel it. What do I do with my energetic abilities?
you trust them. That's why they're harping on your foresight. That's
Yep.
why they're harping on you already have the answers, but it's like we question them when they come to you. It's trusting what you get and being satisfied with what you get for now and not always pushing for more.
Because the thing is this, when you're learning to discern energy, we talked about this the other day. Like when your intuition kicks in, right? You tend to get bombarded with all the,
Things
I
that are
don't say
wrong.
necessarily negative things, but the when something feels off, when something feels wrong. And then the second something happens to confirm that, you're like, see, I knew I was right. So when you know you're right in that aspect, then you got to ask yourself why you discredit yourself so hard in the opposite aspect. So when we talk about trusting in your abilities, when you know you can discern something from that side without even batting an eye, and it's just a matter of time before you got hit with the ping, and then you got some kind of physical confirmation, they're asking the same thing of you on the other side. Most people will trust their intuition when it's like not a positive thing, but when it's a positive thing, it's almost like well, I got to second guess that, because what happens if it actually comes true? What if I actually get what I'm asking for? What if I actually get what I'm feeling? What if this actually materializes? And then when we don't trust ourselves, we actually push it energetically away, not even meaning to. Because that energy of push away is, I'm not sure if I'm ready yet. I'm not sure if the timing is right. I want this, but it scares me because it's new, it's foreign, and it's unknown. So again, it goes back to that trust fall, that trusting with no safety net. You don't have, get okay with not having to have the physical, tangible proof, because it is for you, it is in the knowing of things.
Well, and a lot of your foresight is knowing. A lot of your foresight is feelings right now, gut feelings, whatever you want to call them. So sometimes the best thing to do is to get that energy out of the body. So say what you're feeling, write it down, text it to yourself, voice record it, write it in a notebook, tell a friend, like pick somebody who's not going to judge you and just be like, I have to tell you this just so I can get it out of
Yep.
my energy field. Because then what happens is you don't sit there mulling on it and you're not up in your head. Thank you for the follow. You're not up in the head talking about yourself. Like, is this going to happen? What do I know? I don't know. I think I kind of agree, but I kind of don't. And I kind of think I'm bullshit, but I kind of did. It takes that out of it and it allows you to release that energy outside the vessel. And sometimes it'll lessen the energy's effect on the vessel. So you won't feel so bombarded with it. You won't feel so overwhelmed with it. But you also kind of put it back in your awareness so that when it does happen, you are your own confirmation. Nobody needs to confer with you and tell you, good job, high five, here's a cookie. You're going to see it because you put it in your awareness radar. So when it happens and you stumble into it, you're like, oh shit, that was 2 weeks ago that I thought that was wow. And that's how you gain trust. Max, do not drink that water. Hey.
And that's what I said. It's even the little things, like when something comes in and it's a word, a phrase, a song, a this, and it doesn't really like all the way make sense, but it hits you like, well, this might be important. We're always like, put a pin in that for later. Send yourself a text message, write it on a piece of paper, because they'll bring you back to it when you least expect it. And then it's like boom, 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 boom. And you're like, whoa, you gave that to me like 3 weeks ahead of time. But it didn't come in the way I thought because I had an expectation. So I discredited myself. And now that I'm taking the time to not second guess it, right? You're just getting it out of your field. Just like ChildOfBalance said, you're writing it down. You're sending a text message. You're telling it to a friend. Then when it comes in, you're like, I wasn't crazy. It'll be like a one-word thing. And you're like, I text that to myself. I know I did. And then you're going to go, oh my God, I text that to myself on, April 15th, 3 weeks before it happened. And then you're going to start trusting yourself because that's where you're at right now. You just said your foresight is on point. So believe it. Believe it. And the thing is, knowing your foresight is on point doesn't mean you got to prove it to anybody else. It means it's on point. Should you choose to share it with somebody? Great. But not everybody is accepting of other people's foresight. So you got to know when I say that, don't exactly. You don't need external validation because I'm telling you, a messenger comes in many different forms. It can be a stranger. It can be a picture. It can be a song. It can be a license plate. It can be the most odd, obscure, random things that just come out of nowhere and they mean something to you.
But I'll tell you, it's one thing to be like, I don't need no outside validation. And it's another thing in 2 weeks when it doesn't happen where you question it.
Yes.
Two different things. The same core thing, right? Trust, belief, faith, whatever. But it's two very different things. So we can say verbally, like, I don't need outside validation, high five. But then when it doesn't happen and it's something we actually were looking forward to, that's when the real work begins, because it's like, am I going to question it because it hasn't happened? Because we got to keep everything in mind is that anything that we predict or foresee coming has the ability to be changed or altered. Because we're seeing the possibility, right? Like the possibility of the timeline we're on, the possibility of the future. If everybody makes the decisions that they're planning to make right now, this is what the outcome is. What if one person changes their decision? And one of that one person's decision changes 4 decisions, which changes 12, which changes 100 decisions, and now the outcome's different. So sometimes it's not really like, it's making a note of, I'm putting this in my mental awareness and my conscious brain awareness that this is what I'm picking up. But then it's letting it go, and it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's easy. It's not. It's hard because our humanness gets in the way. Our humanness wants to be like, where is that? Because we have some sort of emotional investment in it, especially when it's something we think we want, right? That would be fantastic if this emperor came in for you. That would be fantastic if I got that raise at work. That would be fantastic if this. And oh my goodness, that would be such luck if they showed up back again. Or like all of those things we tie energetically to ourselves. So when they don't happen, when we want them to, expect them to, or on our timeline, we can lower accidentally our vibration, our frequency, or whatever when we have a disappointment that it's not here yet. So it's one of those things. It's like, to stay in the present moment is truly what brings in the things that you've foreseen. So to live as much as possible present, just living your life despite what you've been told, is the best thing that you can do. but so that you don't forget it, and so you can prove yourself correct, life flight, so you can prove yourself correct, like writing them down so you can review them. Because sometimes we miss it in the moment, and then when we go to write something else down, we're like, oh shit, I said that 2 months ago? Oh, well, that happened. Check. Like, so they just want you to keep more conscious awareness and to not put yourself on that timeline of when we want what we were promised, kind of a deal. You know?
Do you have any other questions? And just so you know, all of our lives are posted on YouTube, and your read will be time stamped, so you can go watch it as many times as you want, or if you want to. And they're usually posted within 24 hours. But thank you so much for letting us in your energy and letting us read for you today. We appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
She said she doesn't have any other questions. She said thank you. She appreciates the both of us. Thank you so
Yeah, no
much. We
worries.
appreciate you. We appreciate you.
No worries. That's what we do. That's why we do it. You know what I mean? A little bit of read, a little bit of conversation, a little bit of mentorship never hurt.
And whoever
All
asked us
right, guys.
when did we decide to do readings, this is why it took us a minute, because it's a little read, a little mentorship, a little conversation. It's just not your traditional thing.
Because we don't, yeah, we're I am a very big healer. I have that mentality. My cat. I have that mentality, and so does Miss Keys of Wisdom in her own right. So we like to just do more than, oh my God, you were cursed on Tuesday, and your ex has it out for you. Like, no. Um.
And the thing is, if people are serious with themselves before we get off, people come on here, and if you're honest, when you want to read, you're looking for direction. You probably have a specific question. Hi, kitty. You know what I'm saying? You probably have a specific question, and it's really something you want guidance on your path, because that's what matters. So that's why we're always like, do you have a question? Is there a topic you want us to feel into? Because should it shift out of a read and into a mentorship space, that's what you need right now. And we're going to give you exactly what you need, regardless of
Yeah.
if it's we're doing reads on here. That's what you need to do today, and we got to unpack and problem solve. That's what we're going to do.
Yep. And not boastful, but we definitely try to do everything divinely guided, spirit led, listening to our team, your team, our intuition, and all the other factors as the mower starts. You gotta be kidding me. All the other factors. So we try our very best to be just the go between the channel and um, to do what we're asked. So I know somebody asked what was the hardest part about starting or whatever, and it's that. It's to truly just be that neutral thing, you know.
Correct.
Alrighty, well, I'm gonna have to hop up off here, but
Sounds
thank you
good.
everyone for your time, your space, and your energy today. Thank you for all the gifts, the love, the likes, the follows, the shares. It is much appreciated. I will be on solo later tonight around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we'll be doing some solo reads then. Um, but I
You two have a
appreciate you and
beautiful
all your
day.
time and all your effort. We are, or because you guys have asked for it, we have opened up private dual read spaces that are an hour long with me and Miss Keys of Wisdom 369. And we also opened up dual shadow work and dual mentorship because you guys have asked for it. So it is on the website. Please go ahead and check it out. We also have Instagram and YouTube, which this live and many others will be posted to. So just keep that in mind. You know, we do a lot of things cross platform, so feel free to check it out. I can't make that up. I'll tell you in a minute. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Hope you have a
Bye,
great rest of your
guys.
Thursday.